Hello students, and welcome you all again to this video lecture series on chapter mechanical testing of metals. In previous few lectures we have seen this impact testing. What is the importance of this impact testing method? Then what are the types of material that can be tested by this method? What is the standard procedure to carry out this impact testing? Then we have seen there are two methods, Charpy test method and Izod test method to carry out this impact testing. We have seen what is the size of standard test specimen for the Charpy test, 55 mm by 10 mm by 10 mm, and V notch or U notch can be made. Then the standard procedure to carry out the Charpy test. What is the position in which we are placing the test specimen in Charpy test? Then we have seen what things we are calculating, impact, energy and toughness in the Charpy test. Similarly, we have seen Izod test also. Here just difference is we are placing that specimen vertically, and that the specimen is having certain different size, 75 mm length by 10 mm by 10 mm cross section, and V notch again same kind of V notch, but just the specimen is placed vertically. That also we have seen. Then we have seen the calculations, that is we are also finding here impact energy and toughness of that material. Now in this lecture we will see the difference between Izod and Charpy test. So first difference is specimen position. In Izod impact test we are placing the specimen vertically, whereas in Charpy impact test you have seen a specimen is placed horizontally. So in this diagram also, here in A diagram we have represented the specimen 75 mm by 10 mm by 10 mm. It is placed vertically, exact vertically in the jaws of, and in figure B you can see for the Charpy test that specimen is placed exactly horizontally like a simply supported beam. Second difference is a point of strike. In Izod impact test, upper tip of that specimen will be heated by the or struck by the hammer, whereas in Charpy Izod test the point of a notch in exactly opposite direction of that V notch will be get heated. So again in this diagram you can observe that pendulum strikes exactly at the top or tip of that specimen, whereas in Charpy test you can observe that pendulum will hit exactly in opposite direction of V notch. This will be second difference. Third difference, direction of notch. So in Izod test the striker is facing the striker that is fastened to the pendulum. So notch is exactly in the same direction of that of pendulum in case of Izod test, but in Charpy test notch is exactly in the opposite side of that pendulum. In that diagrams you can observe how specimen is placed and where is the notch and where is that pendulum. So pendulum is exactly in the same direction of notch in case of Izod test, but in case of a Charpy test pendulum is exactly in the opposite direction of V notch. This is the third difference. Fourth difference, type of notch. So in Izod test you have seen only V kind of notch can be made or is used, but in Charpy test V notch or U notch can be made and used for the test. This is the fourth difference. Next difference, type of hammer. So generally for Izod test forming hammer is used, whereas in Charpy test ball peen hammer is used. These are the two types of hammer that are used in the Charpy and Izod test. Types of hammer are different for different tests. And the next difference and last difference is Izod test specimen. So in case of Izod test, standard test specimen is used with the length 75 mm and cross sectional area 10 mm by 10 mm, whereas in Charpy test you are using the length of the test specimen as 55 mm and cross sectional area 10 mm by 10 mm. So these are some difference points. Again we will revise this difference point. First, that is specimen position. In Izod test we are placing it vertically, in Charpy test horizontally. Secondly, point of strike. In Izod test upper tip of the specimen is hit by the hammer. In Charpy test point of a notch opposite to the direction of that notch, that point will get hit by striker or hammer. Third difference, direction of notch. The direction of notch in Izod test is facing to the striker, whereas in Charpy test it is away from the striker in the opposite direction of striker hit. Next difference, that is type of notch. In Izod test we are using the V notch only. In Charpy test V notch or U notch. In Charpy Izod test we are using a hammer with the forming hammer. In Charpy test as a ball peen hammer. Last difference point, that is in Izod test we are using standard test specimen with the length 75 mm and cross sectional area 10 by 10. In Charpy test it is a 55 mm length and cross sectional area 10 mm by 10 mm. You can also draw these diagrams in the difference also. So this is the difference between Charpy and Izod test.